sands run deep. You are light to my path and a lamp unto my feet.
Anywhere I go, you are right beside me. Anywhere I go, you are there to hold me. Anywhere I go, you are right beside me. Anywhere.
I'm Audley Scott, and you're listening to Flashpoint Radio. Rise and shine. Your morning boost of inspiration, news, and fun. With Mikey G, Lady Elise, and Coralie Karen. The unmistakable combination, synergized to navigate.
It's like we're running in circles, going around every day, getting stuck in the hurdles of yesterday. Don't you wanna go further, away from the fray? Let's not get stuck in our worries.
Wednesday morning, and I just love the sound of that song. Don't you want to go higher? Don't you want to go to a better place? Good morning to our listeners and viewers joining us from across the globe and across the social platforms, social media platforms. Morning, morning, morning. Oh, uno. Morning, Mikey G.
Well, that's a new one, All Uno Do is a very good and, of course, proper greeting this morning for all our local persons, Jamaicans, and other persons who are acquainted with the brand Jamaican. And, of course, we want to say all Caymanians. How do we say in Caymanian, good morning? Well, I'm going to be saying, how uno do the same way.
No matter what differentiates us or what makes us unique, where we are from, the warmth and the sentiment is that we wish for you a wonderful morning, one that is fulfilling and enlightening, and one that is a blessing.
Totally this morning, and of course, today's Wellness Wednesday, and we have our Dr. K standing by to give us some health tips and advice for this morning's experience.
Yes.
First, we take a little small break, and when we come back, we will definitely get into the meat of the matter.
Build your dream home or renovate your space? M&M Construction is the perfect place. We bring your vision to life with precision and quality craftsmanship. From design to construction, we guide you every step, ensuring seamless coordination and superior results. Our professional roof inspection and maintenance services will ensure that your roof is sturdy this hurricane season. So, if you are ready to start your construction journey, call us today at 345-927-7509. Build with confidence. Build with M&M Construction. 345-927-7509.
Welcome back. Of course, it's not all about me and Flashpoint and the Breakfast Hour. And you will notice that by the display settings right now, center and front is, of course, Dr. K, a medical doctor with years of experience. She has not kept her experience and her medical wisdom and knowledge to herself. She has a passion to make us stay well and keep us in the know. And of course, today I'm not sure what she's going to be addressing, but I know that it is going to be something that's relevant and important to us all. Good morning, Dr. K.
Good morning, Lady Elise. Good morning, Mikey G.
Good morning, Dr. K.
Yes, this morning we're going to be discussing autism. April is Autism Awareness Month. And so today we'll talk a little bit about autism. I'm sure everybody is aware of autism, knows somebody who has autism, or even is concerned about autism because, there's a lot of people who think that autism is on the rise. And I'm not sure if it is on the rise or because we're more aware of it. And so it probably is more diagnosed now than it was in the past. But there are a lot of people who are linking vaccines to autism. And I'm not going to say that, well, there's a lot of studies that have been done. And over the past few years, 10, 20 years, they haven't really found any substantial evidence to say that vaccine is the cause of autism. But what we know is that autism basically is a spectrum in terms of the disorder, and it's related to how the brain develops. That in fact impacts how the person behaves and socialize with others. Okay? So usually autism tends to occur in early childhood. Usually symptoms begin in the first year of life, but it will become more evident between 18 and 24 months. And if you've ever had a child or been exposed to a child with autism, you're going to be seeing a number of things in terms of the way they communicate and interact. I'm not sure if you've been exposed to anybody with autism as a baby. And if you are, your children, they tend to have problems with social interaction and communication.
Well,
Right?
could I just ask, I'll just make a point at this, no. More, if we are looking at the children who are being born, no, not just born, but youngsters who are around, yeah, you mentioned the social interaction of the youngsters and their inability to do so. Our young people today, are very much unable to interact properly and socialize within our environment today. So I'm wondering, in my senses, that when you said that a while ago, I linked it to autism, but this is not autism that you're looking at, but something that mimics it. It's like a symptom of the thing that you're talking about, and so we have an induced uh, dosage of something that causes this effect on normal human beings, and we're seeing it. It's dysfunctional teens or adolescents or young people, as we say in our society. And that word by itself is weaponized already. Young people. I don't know why, but that's what I think. It just came out like that in my mind. And the second point was when you talked about the empirical evidence that was not found for saying that vaccines was linked to autism. I can't see how Noise Abatement Act would benefit anybody when music is such a powerful thing, and I love to play music. You know, you understand? So I wouldn't want them to, no, it could not be wrong for people to hear me play my sound system very loud. That's how I think about that a while ago. And I hope I didn't break the chain of thought too much.
Well, I'm sure you didn't because when Dr. K mentioned the earliness of the diagnosis, that is what kind of hit me, from 18 months.
Mm.
And what would it's so difficult to have a child being labeled, and it certainly brings anxiety to the parents. And how do you manage this process? And you alluded to it when you started, because I don't remember autism being such a popular, or more, I don't know if it existed and we are just now more aware of it, or persons had these issues but didn't wear a label.
And yes, I agree. I think a lot of children when we're growing up, the children were bad. They don't listen. That's what they label them as these children are horrible, and they
Rude
do
children.
the way they real, and they get a lot of beating because their ears hard, and sometimes it's probably the brain development, and we have to realize that autism ranges, and that's why we say it's a spectrum, because it ranges from low functioning, that's below average functioning, to higher intelligence. So there's a spectrum of it. So it can go from you're not able to function to that you're smarter than everybody else. I'm sure, I don't know if anybody watched The Good Doctor.
I saw it being advertised, but I have not got a chance to watch it.
Well, I watched most of the series of The Good Doctor, and it was an autistic doctor. And he grew up, I mean, initially, I suppose it was recognized very early for him. And he became a doctor. And even when he started his residency, he was looked upon as, oh, he's not fit to be a part of my program. He's not fit to do that. He's not fit to do that. But after getting to realize his mental and spatial ability, a lot of the doctors were basically, I wouldn't say dependent on him, but respected his ability to see things. He could pull up in his head the anatomy of this, and if there's an anomaly, he could see where it is just by have the spatial ability to see things.
I know
And
that.
so, the thing about autism though is that you have to be able to, or even the doctor or your parents or people who have teachers who are interacting with children, need to know that autism is just, need to know where your child is, and as a result of knowing where your child is, you'll be able to get the additional help that you need. So what are some of the symptoms of autism? So a child fails to respond to his or her name, or appears to not hear you at times. Is hard. You're calling
I
the
you
child
know,
and the child
Doc,
is not.
I probably think I'm suffering from that a lot sometimes.
Well, I'll ask Dr. K the question after, if you can have a late adulthood diagnosis of and what that would look like.
Sometimes I hear people, I realize people are talking to me and I don't hear a word they're saying.
Maybe you have selective hearing. That's a totally different
So autistic,
conversation.
that's true. Autistic children tend to resist cuddling and seem to prefer to be by themselves.
Well,
They want to
I
play.
can't, but Doc, I find that my autism might allow me to can't resist cuddling. So is that another side effect that could be possible?
So possibly you do not have autism. So they people who are touchy feely, they're not going to be the ones who you want to cuddle. Even as children, they
Yes.
want to be by themselves.
Mhm.
They tend to have poor eye contact. So when you talk to your child, and your child will say, "Look at me," you always say to, why parents always say that, "Look at me." I'm telling you, they're actually diagnosing you from day one. They say, "I'm talking to you, look at me."
I had a girlfriend once, Doc, that whenever time I'm at home, where I cannot touch her at all. But when I'm on the street, I have to hold her hand, and everywhere I go, I have to hug her and everything. But so I think think she has autism at home, but she don't have it. It's like I don't know.
Normal outside.
Turn off and turn on.
Well, I'm glad that, when Mikey comes in, with these, because I actually think about adults. And
Do we have a selective autism? I don't know.
I don't want to push the question too far ahead, because I mean we are now discussing the symptoms, but as adults too, how you relate to individuals like this is quite important, that you have the knowledge, because growing up is not something that I expect that it will just dissolve. So when you talk about having a relationship, and then the concern of the other partner being, you are not showing any emotions, you're not this. Well, there could be a situation that's causing that. But let me not preempt the conversation, and let me listen to Dr. K.
I leave it right there, Doc. I just thought about it, and if I had known this earlier and I've met and had this conversation with you, maybe I would have considered sticking around some more. But I didn't know that some problems were going on. Autism a part of that. I don't know. I'm just thinking that things can just simply just knowing. Knowledge is power, and I'm appreciating of the fact that you're here this morning to give us so much knowledge about this matter. I went to school when children were being beaten, and I was told that they were not hard of hearing, as you said, and had difficulties. And I'm not talking about beating in the sense that I consider it abuse for a child to be schooled. I'm not going to say this to anyone. I know that there are laws against it, and people are setting up all sorts of laws, but I believe that there is a place for a little bit of that. But as having said that, I will continue the conversation in the sense that autistic children, diagnosing them early is a very important factor in our society today.
The thing about it is that not knowing the signs and symptoms sometimes will allow you not to be able to basically treat. I mean, autism doesn't have any cure, but you can actually help and steer the child in terms of getting their best self by giving them avenues or help, whether it's going to be occupational, speech therapy, behavioral therapy. Because the truth is that because it's a spectrum, the child can actually have behavioral issues with autism because of the brain function. So if the child is not channeled in the right way, some children have to be on medication, some children are not. Some children function very well. Some children will end up being the geniuses that are there. But what happens is that it by identifying the symptoms early, then you'll be able to deal with them and be able to get the help that is necessary for them to be their best self and to have the best life possible. So with children who are autistic, you basically, as I said, they have poor eye contact. They basically do not have the normal facial expressions, the smile, and they just look there's basically a monotonal kind of expression. They don't usually start conversation with you, right? And if you do have a conversation, they're not going to keep it going. They're just going to be basically want stuff or even not getting involved in conversation.
Doc, I'm ticking my box. All the youngsters I know are like that. All of them. Everyone. They can't start a conversation and keep it more than a minute or less. They're distracted immediately afterwards. Doc, continue talking, because I'm ticking my box right here. I'm looking at autism in a way that I don't know. Are we done the research on the new the society of youngsters that we have based on that criteria that you're presenting? I'm not sticking my boxes, no. Or youngsters have what you call a attention span deficit, or in the range of 2 seconds or a minute afterwards, or 2 minutes after starting a conversation, or autism. I'm just looking at these things. I'm taking them off. Go ahead, Doc. Sorry. For our listeners, I apologize for the breaking of our esteemed doctor this morning and their explanation, and of course, identifying autism in our society.
Yes, so they speak with abnormal tone or rhythm, more like robot like sometimes. They repeat phrases and words
You hear
and
all of our kids talking the same way, doc, and everyone says, unlike, and unlike, and everybody have the same, and you're saying these things, and I'm just looking at this thing. Every child, all the youngsters that I talk to, and mid and teen and young adults now, they're the same thing. The same language, the same way they speak, the same phrases they use.
they tend not to understand or appear to understand simple questions or simple questions or directions. You give them directions and they're
Like a
not
question
sure
like,
what
what is a woman? A question like that, you can't understand these things. I understand that, doc. Go ahead, doc. I'm hearing you now. I'm listening to you now. I'm listening to your conversation. I'm linking
Lady
it.
Elise, I need your help here. They don't express their emotions or feelings, okay? And they basically um tend to have inappropriate
I understand
approaches
that, doc.
to social interaction. They're either being passive, aggressive, or disruptive. So you put them in groups for them to work together, or people that either shy away, they get aggressive, or they get disruptive in situations. Children are all, and then in every classroom that you always have a child like that. Either they are by themselves, or they're disruptive, or they're aggressive. Have you ever had a class with that, with kids who have that kind of personality? And not all of them are autistic. It's just, as I say, sometimes it's just brain development. So with autistic children, they tend to perform repetitive movements. So some of them will tap, they will rock, they will do things that are repetitive, and those are things that actually gets them going. I mean, I remember watching a lot because autism has been around forever. So you'll have movies or something, or documentaries where they're um, portraying these persons with autism, and you'll see them. They're in a courtroom. She's a lawyer, and in order to get the her rhythm, or to remember everything, she'll probably have to tap, or some of them will have to repeat things or do different things. But
I
they
have a
can.
question in the chat. And the question is, what tests can be done to determine if someone has autism?
Okay, so the test that can be done to determine, you can do genetic testing. Really, it's not exactly going to say that a child has autism. Your pediatrician or your doctor will actually diagnose your child based on the symptoms that your child have, your the signs and symptoms, their behavior. But in terms of their gen- tests to do, you can they're basically testing for particular genetic stuff, but there's really no specific test to say this is autistic. There's no specific test really to say this is an autistic child. Just like how you'd have um, testing for HPV, testing for HbA1c, testing for your glucose. There's no real um, test to say that your child has autism.
Uh,
So diagnosis is basically signs of the autism.
so you're saying that by just identifying all the things that you identified, the movements, the persons are not listening well, hard of hearing, as it were. Um, I went to school, and I got a lot of, at the time, schooling, and caning would be a thing. I got a few of those. They kind of said I didn't listen, so I don't know. And I find myself moving all the time.
Well, but what I gather from the
So
conversation, Dr.
understanding, so
K.
understanding that, Lady Ellis, then I could say that doc said there's no real test to say I could take an injection needle and take it out, and then put it in a lab and say this is an artistic child. But then by
No.
just watching me, not hearing at all, and then the voice changes and all these things, the tones that we use and these monotones as it were, you know. Just Lady Ellis, sorry.
Yeah, but what I'm gathering too from the conversation is I don't know if once so what would be the benefit of getting the diagnosis? Does it mean that there are specific tools that can help the individual to adapt? Because frankly, I think that everybody is different, right? And not everyone or what we consider normal individual would be someone who have, but we'll say somebody is shy or somebody is quiet or they're an introvert, they're an extrovert, where they could actually fall on the spectrum.
But falling on the spectrum, okay, so everybody has different is different in terms
Yes.
of their brain development, their behavior, and nothing is wrong with that. But there are certain criteria that they're going to be using to diagnose. So it's not just one or two things. It has to be there's the fit into a certain behavior and social interaction. So your pediatrician is going to look for signs, and it's just not one because everybody. If you heard what I talk about, almost everybody you can find something about that in everybody. So it's not just one thing.
You
It's
see?
a matter. Okay. So for example, somebody will be shy, and your child will be shy, and you're saying, "Look at me," and they will hold out their head and
Look,
they will not make eye contact with
doc,
you.
look at
And
me.
their children,
If I told somebody that I was shy, they would say, Michael G, you're lying. I'm shy. I'm fitting in the mold of this thing.
yeah, but you're shy. But do you resist social interaction? For definitely, you can start a conversation and you can keep it going for hours. So definitely, you don't have that problem in terms of social interaction, in terms of disruptive behavior, in terms of speaking in monotones, in terms of repetition. And you might have that too, but there are a number of things. But he could be a high functioning autistic child, genius. So autism is not necessarily a disease. I will never say that autism is a disease.
Right.
It's neurofunction, it's brain development, it's brain functioning. And brain functioning could be from underachievers to high achievers. So those people who are geniuses might just be autistic. So autism is not basically saying that it's a disease and I need to cure it. What we're saying is that autism is a difference in the way the person interacts.
So
And
I
if
must ask this question, and I know is there a connection between autism and mental illness?
okay, so there's not really a there's okay.
I think Lady Elise is trying to attack me, doc. I think Lady Elise is trying to
No, no,
attack
no.
Mikey G.
Seriously.
No, seriously, some of the persons who are autistic tend to have aggressive behavior. So the aggression is because of the brain development. And what we need to understand is that let me go into what causes autism.
Yes.
Because there are a number of factors, environmental factors that can lead to autistic children. And what they're saying is that children who are born prematurely
Hmm.
are at risk because, and if there's any problems in the birth canal, where they can get in the birthing process, they can get
Mhm.
autistic because
Oh.
of
Oxygen
the
and
decrease. yeah, the decrease in flow, oxygen flow, blood flow to the brain. So when they're born prematurely, when they have when they're too small, like for example, they have restricted intrauterine growth for whatever reasons. Could be that you have more babies there, or could be that you have a mass like fibroids in the uterus that the child is not getting the space to grow. Using some drugs in pregnancy, for example, people who have seizures and using Valproate and other things can put them at risk for getting autism, bleeding in pregnancies, gestational diabetes. People who are over 35 and having children are at risk. Okay, and they also said if you have two babies or
People who are over 35 and over are at risk
or
for
being
giving.
having your pregnancy way over 35, you're
Yes.
at risk for getting autistic children. And also, they're saying that if you had one baby and the next one you have it within 12 months, within a year, your child might be at risk. And I suppose because your body would have been recovering from the previous pregnancy and not recovered when you get pregnant with the second pregnancy. But the point is that we're saying that these are risk factors. It doesn't mean that it happens, it will only happen in that group of persons. But anything that can decrease blood flow to the brain or to the baby can result in autism.
Okay. Wow.
So basically so as I was saying before, it's not like an autism tend to be genetic. So we can't say that there's one thing to say, but what they can do is that they probably can do a genetic test to see if there's any gene that is definitely there. They think there's a gene associated with autism that they can check for. But the point is that it doesn't mean that the child will have it or will not have it. Okay? So if your child is autistic, right, what happens? Okay?
So, Doc, thank God for the technologies now that can basically go into your brain and take these things out. Because I understand that we have now what you call the neurolinking and the genetic. You can basically, at least the research is being done, and probably while we don't know if it's been enacted yet, but we hear the conversation about being able to target a particular gene within an individual that you can move, or then we are listening to the conversation that is already here, this technology that is already here, that you can basically create the child that you want with the color eyes that you want, the genetics build up of the child that you want by modifying the child within the womb. Or I'm not sure if it starts there, but I've been listening to these conversations for years now. And I'm sure that when we talk about things and we watch this sci-fi movie back in the early days of Star Trek, and now we are seeing the Star Trek movie in real life enacted. So when I hear this conversation, I have no doubt. When you talked a little bit earlier about the child having the ability or the inability to do some things, I'm thinking about neurolinking and the ability to link a child to AI to then function or to modify the child's mindset of how to function better. I'm listening to these connections, I'm listening to these conversations, and this is what I'm looking at. And I'm thinking that these will be becoming the treatments that will be recommended for people with various disorders and conditions in this who have this symptom.
Well, I mean, there are lots of experiments that's going around in terms of a number of things, but I mean, I can't talk to that because I have no idea what's happening in that
Yeah.
in that.
I'm just curious, man. I'm a curious mind, so I'm not asking you to even look at it, Doc. I'm only mentioning it because I'm looking at so many information passing me all the time, and because I have to find so much things to talk about. Yeah, that's why I'm searching. So everybody, if you know, I'm looking for these things.
So I just want to remind the listeners and viewers, if you are just joining us, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, the conversation this morning we are having with Dr. K, who is a physician with many years of experience. We are speaking about autism simply because April is highlighted as Autism Awareness Month. Now, I must ask this question, Dr. K, because we touched on a few areas. So, the fact that one is, say, diagnosed with OCD or ADHD, attention deficit disorder, does it always fall under the autism spectrum, or it can be a separate issue that an individual is dealing with?
So there are conditions that can co-occur with autism, like
Yes.
attention deficit hyperactive disorder, which is
Mm-hmm.
ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
So OCD, these are things that can co-occur with autism, and when it does, it exemplifies it and makes it a little worse.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, so it's not that the child who is autistic have would have attention deficit disorder,
Okay.
or the child who is autistic might have some form of bipolar disorder. The child does not. Autism doesn't give that, but that can occur with autism. So when you have autism, the thing to do once it's diagnosed, and usually under 3 years old, is a matter of dealing with the child. So you're going to have behavioral therapies trying to get the child, because usually the speech tends to be delayed. So these children can get speech therapy. Their behavior might be abnormal where or different where they're, let me use the word different, where because they're not socially interactive, they might be a little disruptive, or they might be they might want to be by themselves, or they might be aggressive, especially if you're trying to pull them in and they're not liking it, so that those behaviors might come out. So the parents learn to, so they give them therapies, or help them and give them tools as to how to interact with these children. Okay, and your doctor will send you to therapy and different areas. So it's going to be occupational therapy, where there's going to be speech therapy, where there's going to be behavioral therapy and family therapy, trying to get you to deal with these children. And when they start school, remember, not every child learns the same way. So you will have education specialists who will basically, because your child learns like this, they will have special programs for your children. And remember, as I said to you, it's not just a child who is slow, who is under who learns at a lower level. There are children who
The
learn at a
gifted.
higher level,
Yes.
and they're geniuses. So you cannot put them in a classroom where a child is going, they're going to be totally bored and probably disruptive. Because if I what you're teaching a normal 5 year old or a 10 year old, my child who is 10 year old is learning at a university level. He cannot learn in that class. He's gonna think that class, he's gonna be taught, you're going to try to suppress him, or he's going to, or he or she is going to not be able to function effectively. And the best person that person can be, you'll not realize that, because you haven't realized that that person is on a different learning um channel, let's put it that way.
You know that.
So
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry. I
so
mean,
that's why it is important for you to have that developmental diagnosis, so your child can be placed accordingly, because every child learns differently. Majority of children learn a particular way, but you'll have those who are low achievers and those who are high achievers,
as you
and they can't be
mentioned,
put in the same place.
as you mentioned, learning, Doc, and people learn differently. I I looked at the concept, not just the concept, but was I didn't I stumbled upon this, that, and we know this for a fact, that men and women learn different ways. We don't learn the same way. I don't think and so I came across the bit of information that says that the education system, how it is set up, how you set it up. You set it up for it to be in par with everyone. But men and women learn differently. And so by placing them in the same environment, you put one at a disadvantage of the other. Which one is disadvantaged versus which one will be benefiting, it makes a difference. But we have seen that something has gone wrong with this as well. So if we know that educating persons, we men learn different from women, then why are we continuing the same process all the time? And what you're describing is an induced form of controlling the minds of persons into herding them into how to learn versus allowing the natural process to take place in this context. That's what I'm listening.
But you're not doing that and teaching them how to learn.
No, no, I know. You're not teaching them. You're exposing them to the environment of learning. But then it is a controlled environment of how they should do this one thing. That is.
No, but the point is that yes, learning should take place in a particular space. But then, as I say, based on the child that you have in front of you, learning might be different for that child. And if learning is different for that child, you cannot put them in a regular classroom where the learning is.
And here's the answer for it. Here's where I got. That's what you said, and that's where I got this information. We have placed the men and the women in the same classroom for too long.
But men and women learn generally the same way. But there are some men who learn differently and some women who learn differently.
No, there are things. There are things. Now, what I would say? Yes.
People learn the same way initially. When you're children, a boy doesn't learn different from a girl learn different. But as you get older, your interest might be a little different.
So that's what. So I'm tying.
You might want to do this.
So I am tying that idea with learning in the way you said it a while ago, and I'm just listening to the conversation, and you can see. Oh, it's like saying, all right. I looked at a young lady in the restaurant the other day, and she was a little girl. I didn't know she was a boy or a girl, and so by looking at her, I said, I remember my sister who climbed all the trees with us. I remember her climbing the trees and everything. But as she gets older, her interest, as you said, changed. And her body changed. And so with that came the difference. And so she don't want to be a tomboy anymore like that. She wants to be a girly girl and all of that going on. I'm just linking that aspect. I don't want to detract from what we're saying. But I saw that and I thought I'd just zero in on it a little bit. And would just notice that is probably I know from experience that education for men and women are totally different stuff. While we might learn the matriculations and the grammars and all that the same, but there are things that are so different. It's like moon and sun.
And I will also share this. Thank you, Mikey G. Because as a mother of sons myself, I recognize the difference in the classroom as to how they learn. But as our potential parents, mothers and fathers out there that are thinking of perhaps starting a family or thinking of having children, and you mentioned some things that may predispose to autism. What can a mother do, or young parents who are listening and they're thinking of starting a family and they're thinking of doing all that they possibly can? You can't control all the narrative, but you can do stuff to assist or to minimize the risk then of having an autistic child.
So I believe in eugenics, which is good beginning. And this starts with you. It starts way before you decide to have children, way before you start having children. And the best way to make sure your child becomes the best is to take care of you. So if you take care of your body, you have healthy living, you eat healthily, you exercise, you get your amount of vitamin D every day, you have good minds, you have good thoughts, and you take care of your body, then you're more likely to have better children than if you don't take care of your body. And I'm not talking about women alone, because men give that sperm to help to make that child. So if it's not good, you're going to have bad children. So you have to make sure you eat properly, you rest, you exercise, because your seed that you're going to be using to make a child need to be good. So
Yeah.
if you're not taking care of yourself, you're going to be producing
Well,
you're going to be producing bad seed, which can lead to
yeah,
inferior
and
children.
so
So
that
it's very important.
and so that's where the family unit comes in, where the woman being the nurturer of the family who will take care of the nutrients that goes into that man that makes that seed would be very interesting. It's on top of our list of things to do.
But it's not just nutrients. What about his rest? What
I
about
know, you know, yes,
his
yes,
exercise, the way he takes care of himself?
yeah, that's what
I
I'm
mean,
saying.
if he's diabetes, high blood pressure, all of those illnesses have impact on your body and also on your offspring.
I think that if you have that wonderful wife that you need and make you go to bed early, and you will just rest a lot and exercise a lot as well. I think I'm just talking about the
So
man
so
making good seeds. That's what I'm talking about.
so Lady Ellie, so a person who wants to make sure that their children are the best that they can, it starts with taking care of themselves initially. Take care of you. Um, there's some things that are genetic that you cannot do anything about, but the things that you can change, make sure you enact those changes in yourself in order to have good offsprings.
One of those big things is, Lady Elise, as Doc just told me a while ago, be sure you're not over 35 when you're trying to attempt to have children because you may run the risk of putting those children at risk. It is beneficial to you for the children to be born before that time. Not that you're saying that based on, I'm just listening to what you said, and I think I'm a good student so far. And so based on what you said earlier, is that versus
Yeah.
But
versus
but
versus
remember,
not
you can't.
necessarily not necessarily that because you're older, younger, you can't have the same similar
Yes.
things can happen. I'm not saying that. But by just not doing it early, because we look at this thing and we want to bring it from a sin factor, a deficiency factor, a defective factor, from the Garden of Eden factor, where we were not made to sin or we were not made corrupted. And so that factor is in us and it keeps growing. So I'm not saying that because you're 18 years of age you won't make bad things. But I'm saying the more likelihood of you being a mother after 35, and based on what Doc says, I'm talking, you said it, I'm listening to you, and if you give me the test today, I probably get an A on it. I don't know if I'm going to score high enough, but I'm thinking over 35, and I'm emphasizing all ladies. I know that I'm not going to ask these some questions, but I knew that you must have prioritized having children over career while wanting a career. I'm not going to ask that conversation to continue, but I would say that there must be a balance between choosing careers and having children, and when these things are supposed to happen, because they are very time sensitive. Children being born are very time sensitive. That's what I would want to put in the conversation. Yeah, Elise, I know you're buzzing, and I am sorry if I didn't.
No, no, no. I mean, we have just touched the brink of the conversation because there's another thing that Dr. K says that I could zero in on, and
Please,
that is
I missed a few things,
birth process and the birth canal
Sorry,
and
sorry. Say
all
that
of
again.
that.
Say that again. Say that again.
And
Say that again. Say
and
that again. Say that again.
yeah, and when you think of a thing that we consider as so simple, and so you want to ensure that you have carried this child for all of 9 months or longer, and you want to
At the
ensure
end.
at the end that the child is well, and so the rest come into play as well. You get your rest before delivery time so that when the time comes for you go to participate in the delivery process, that you are 100% if possible.
When I
So
heard,
you do every single thing that you can. It doesn't mean that things won't happen, but you do what you can to help the process along. So
I
I'm listening to the conversation, and you mentioned one, as women, be sensitive to your time period when you're planning to have your children and all of that, and the men being healthy as well. It's a whole lot of things that it's simple things that add up to help,
and
and
I,
and and that's where I'm at
and
with
as
the
you see right in a
conversation.
while ago, Lady Elise, I just went back to the conversation. Men and women are learning different. We learn different. These are not the things that we learn together. We learn them
Yes.
separate, but we are necessary that all of us know the information. Whatever you said, participate, and I said I heard party, and many women go partying and smoking and drinking while being pregnant with children that they are supposed to be protecting. This is just an evil act. I want to put it out there that this is you being wicked to that child and hurting the child while you're doing these things. I want to put it there. And you're supposed to be the protector of the child. Yes. I don't know,
Well,
but I put a little punch every now and then for myself first, and then afterwards I punch
it,
everybody else up.
it's a learning experience. I mean,
I hit me first, because I'm guilty of a
and
lot of stuff. So,
And I have to say, I appreciate Dr. K coming here every day, every week, taking time out of your busy schedule. Guys, you know how much it costs to see a physician here in the Cayman Islands. And if you, I mean, your health insurance needs to be tip top. And of course, she does not want you to come see her every week or see a physician every week. So these wellness tips for you and your family and your community, it's important. So if you're listening on YouTube and you have not yet given a thumbs up, a like, please share a like. Dr. K has come every week, and we have benefited from the conversation every single week, and we certainly appreciate her and appreciate all that she has shared with us. And so I have to put that in the middle of the conversation.
Doc, I'm asking. I watched an ad on the TV, and they were talking. They were advertising a particular product about children. But what they did was they put the mother alone in the video and say that she's like a single mom, and that is being promoted these days. In the fact of making families, children, family is necessary for the protection of that child. And how do you see a child who is an artistic or have these deficiencies or have these special abilities? I would want to use these things now instead of saying deficiencies, special abilities. Because I'm having those special abilities myself. How do you see a mother and father in a structured family affecting that child or benefiting that child going forward?
There will always be beneficial. It will always be beneficial. But remember, nothing is not ideal. So you work with what you have. But the ideal is to have both parents in the family, both parents providing the support for the child.
All right. Well, I don't know, Lady Elise, if there's anything else.
No, I mean, I am looking forward. I am obtaining all the information, and I like the idea that there are so many more resources here, and to support individuals, to support families. And Dr. K mentioned that knowledge is power. So you know that there's an issue. Your child can be a functioning part of the society and contribute despite what label is put on, despite the challenges. It's important for us to know so that we can put things in place. But Dr. K, before you get out of here, I'm an adult and I am listening to the conversation, and I recognize that I have some challenges that could possibly make things different. It affects my job, it affects my relationship. What can I do in my adult stage? Figuring that I do have some differences that could benefit from some help.
Maybe that could be a beating that you should have gotten at age 5 or 6.
So, as an adult and you realize you are having these issues, it behoves you to seek. So, speak with your doctor. Speak
Yes.
with your doctor. So, if you, when once you're having a problem, speak with your doctor, because your doctor will be able to steer you to
Mm-hmm.
where you need to go. So, just like how you have behavioral therapy and you have learning therapies and different occupational, you might not have problem with speech because you're an adult, but you have tools that are available to help you to integrate optimally in society so you can be the best you that you can be. So always have a
Wow.
conversation. If you recognize that there's an issue, there are always tools available and there's somebody available to assist you.
Wellness Wednesday
So
with.
it's not a dead end. You have help. Help is on its way. Help is there for you.
Well, Doc, it's Wellness Wednesday. And as I said, Elise was wondering about some of the things that as adults, some adults didn't get a good slap, and they grew up being obnoxious people. They didn't get a good whipping when they were being very out of order and rude, and so that happened. But you know what I found to be very interesting, Doc? What I found in the lineup, and I know that they say spanking a child is now deemed illegal and something very awful. But what I don't know is that doctors are allowed to beat the child. And without that slap, I think if you should put that law in place, doctors will be locked up at the first day of a birth. Everyone. All right, having said that,
I know Dr. K is going to clarify that so that we can.
We never slap the child. We aggressively stimulate the child.
And that's the word. And that's the word I was looking for. When I was doing it for my children, I aggressively stimulated them, and so they are better children now. I didn't aggressively stimulate them.
Yeah, you stimulate the child for the child to take the first breath, but you don't slap the child. You're actually stimulating the child for the child to take the
first breath. Yes. So I want to say thank you, Dr. K, for sharing with us this morning. It has been so informative. And of course, I think we can all take a little for ourselves. And of course, if you haven't already done so, please go ahead, like, subscribe, share the link so that someone else will also receive this valuable information. It's Wellness Wednesday right here on Flashpoint. Just to remind our listeners and viewers that every single Wednesday we have something in store for you. We care for not just your entertainment need, but we cater to your well-being, your health. We cater to your finances, and it's all about medical or health literacy so that we can take care of ourselves, take care of our community and our families as well. Thank you so much, Dr. K. We do appreciate you.
Okay, have a good day. See you next week.
Thank you, Dr. K. And I want to add my little bit there. I now learn a new concept. Aggressively stimulating. I'm Senator Wellness Wednesday, guys, and I thank you for joining us for this episode of The Breakfast Hour. It has indeed been a wonderful morning. And of course, stay tuned to Flashpoint. It comes up tomorrow morning, same time, same place, right here. Not Wellness Wednesday tomorrow, but we will have our friend Sarid DVM who will be with us tomorrow morning, right here on The Breakfast Hour. Thank you, Doc. You have a wonderful day. And of course, I will also, knowing this wealth of information, I'm bursting at the seams.
When you need ultrasound that's safe and effective, you must visit Asai Ultrasound Imaging. They're conveniently located at number 4 Chestnut Center, Smith Road, Georgetown, Cayman Islands. With experienced technologists with over 20 years experience, their friendly staff will make you comfortable while you get your procedure done. Asai Ultrasound Imaging is open Mondays to Fridays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. Call Asai Ultrasound Imaging 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426. That's 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426.
I'm Audley Scott, and you're listening to Flashpoint Radio. Rise and shine, your morning boost of inspiration, news, and fun. With Mikey G, Lady Elise, and Coralie Karen, the unmistakable combination, synergized to navigate.
Yes, it is Wellness Wednesday, and it's such a wonderful privilege and honor to be sitting in this space and be able to share with you these crucial, informative tips that we have gotten from the lady herself, Dr. K, keeping us keeping us on our toes, on our fingers, and everything, so that we can stay healthy and stay well.
Well, this Wednesday for us today has been a very enlightening and, of course, humorous one for me. I just listen to the conversation. It makes me think a lot about so many things, and my childhood experiences would come into play immediately. So I am, learning so much about myself while I learn so much about others. But I hope that you, as our viewers and listeners this morning, those who are listening on www.flashpointmedia.ky or radio or web radio, continues to play all day. And of course, for those who have joined us on YouTube and our Facebook page this morning, we are hopeful that you had indeed a wonderful experience with us right here. And the information was rich enough that you can take back and benefit you and your families or your friends and those you come into contact with. You may be having some information you can share with them. And so I want to thank you for joining us. First, keep coming back. Breakfast Hour starts tomorrow at 6:30 right here on Flashpoint. On radio we start, and we start our stream somewhere around 7:30 in the AM every morning right here. But you can catch us on our radio at www.flashpointmedia.ky. I want to say thank you for joining us this morning. Elise, I think do we have anything else to share this morning with our listeners before we get out?
Of course, as we get out of here, we will share the news so that our listeners and viewers can just find out what's happening, not only locally, but across the shores, globally, internationally, if you will. But I want to say a special thank you to our listeners and viewers who stayed with us during the breakfast hour. We have shared a lot of information. We spoke about autism. April is celebrated as Autism Awareness Month. And of course, yesterday we spoke about the Titanic being the anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic. Did you know that?
1,000 people. Over 1,000.
Yeah, we are creating history today, so I hope that you would have benefited. Tomorrow we will have guests in the studio, and because we're having guests, when the guests show up, we need to be here as well. So I'm going to invite our listeners and viewers to keep it locked, and of course make sure you join us tomorrow morning for the breakfast hour. We have a variety of artists, talented persons joining us right here on set. Is something you do not want to miss. And so we look forward to having you. But it's news time. So of course we will share with you what's happening in Cayman and the rest of the world.
Of course, we want to say tata for now, and of course with the news, we do our news, and then of course we're going on with our news this morning. I want to thank Corley Karen for our news anchor for her service, and of course how she is dedicated to the task at hand and do such an awesome job. I say thank you guys for listening and joining us, and take the messages and the advice and information, take them well, and of course use them wisely. You're listening to Flashpoint, and of course stay tuned right here. News time comes up next. News is brought to us by Asai Ultrasound for all your ultrasound needs right here in the Grand Cayman Islands.
When you need ultrasound that's safe and effective, you must visit Asai Ultrasound Imaging. They're conveniently located at number 4 Chestnut Center, Smith Road, Georgetown, Cayman Islands. With experienced technologists with over 20 years experience, their friendly staff will make you comfortable while you get your procedure done. Asai Ultrasound Imaging is open Mondays to Fridays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. Call Asai Ultrasound Imaging 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426. That's 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426.
Good morning. It is Wednesday, April 16th, and these are the news headlines on Flashpoint Radio. I'm Pauline Karen. Could the Trump effect be good for Cayman's finance sector? For better or worse, Donald Trump is shaking up global dynamics. His administration's stance on privacy and transparency could create opportunities for Cayman's financial and crypto sectors. New U.S. tariffs are expected to drive inflation locally and create volatility in the markets, but Cayman experts see a silver lining. Former Maples partner Tim Ridley highlights the Trump administration's softer approach to beneficial ownership disclosures, which may bolster Cayman's appeal as a private, respected jurisdiction. Paul Biles, director of FTS Management, cautions that a potential U.S. downturn may slow capital inflows into certain funds, but Cayman's finance sector has shown medium-term resilience. Fees from the industry generate more than half of the Cayman government's $1 billion annual income, making this a critical watch point. Guilty verdict in Devonte Hernandez murder case. A grand jury has found George Orlando Sr., 36, guilty of the 2023 murder of 25-year-old Devonte Hernandez in a daring daytime shooting in Georgetown. The shooting occurred in front of Hernandez's young daughter. After 4 days of deliberations, the jury unanimously delivered the verdict on Monday afternoon. Co-accused Bianca Vega, charged as an accessory after the fact, was found not guilty. Senior showed no visible reaction in court, while Vega broke down in tears. The victim's family was present throughout the 3.5-week trial. Cayman athletes head to Carifta Games. Cayman's youth athletes are ready to shine in the regional stage. 15 track and field stars are en route to Port of Spain, Trinidad for the 2025 Carifta Athletics Championships running April 19th to 21st. Team manager Skimone Chin says every athlete has medal potential, including standout sprinters Jalea Mays and Daquana Howell, who will also compete in the 4x100 relay. Joining them will be 34-member swim team also competing at the Carifta Aquatics Championships. Best of luck, Team Cayman. Auxiliary constable arrested in armed robbery probe. An auxiliary police constable has been arrested and suspended in connection with the armed robbery of a construction site payroll in Georgetown last November. The 28-year-old East End man is the second arrest in the case, where robbers, one with a gun, stole cash meant for workers on the Hyatt Residences project. The constable has been granted bail as the investigation continues. Fashion takes the spotlight in Cayman InStyle Week. Cayman InStyle Fashion Week wrapped up with dazzling flair this weekend. Kicking off with a swimsuit show under the stars at the Holiday Inn, the week also featured a red carpet gala and Trailblazer Awards at the Marriott, celebrating fashion, media, and community excellence. Despite the glam, there was some drama. Jeremy Meeks, originally slated to co-host, was denied entry to Cayman due to his criminal record. The show went on, led by Yendi Phillips, Miss Jamaica 2007, and drew huge support from locals and international visitors alike. In regional news, Bahamas launches domestic violence police unit. Bahamas Prime Minister Philip Davis has praised the creation of a new domestic violence unit within the Royal Bahamas Police Force. Says the unit is a crucial step towards helping survivors who feel afraid, alone, and unsure if anyone will help. Officers in the unit are specially trained to respond with empathy and urgency and will work closely with shelters and social services. 1 in 4 Bahamian women has experienced physical or sexual violence according to the recent IDB data, underscoring the importance of this initiative. ICE captures Jamaican fugitive wanted for St. Lucia murder. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has captured Orville Purnell, a 32-year-old Jamaican fugitive wanted for murder in St. Lucia. Purnell had escaped custody twice, first in St. Lucia in 2010, then in Jamaica. He was eventually caught in Savannah, Georgia, after attempting to enter the U.S. with a fake ID. He's accused of murdering Cleos Alfred in 2020 and faces multiple other charges, including firearms possession and evasion of arrest in the U.S. Those were your news headlines on Flashpoint Radio. Continue to stay tuned for more updates throughout the day.
When you need ultrasound that's safe and effective, you must visit Asai Ultrasound Imaging. They're conveniently located at number 4 Chestnut Center, Smith Road, Georgetown, Cayman Islands. With experienced technologists with over 20 years experience, their friendly staff will make you comfortable while you get your procedure done. Asai Ultrasound Imaging is open Mondays to Fridays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. Call Asai Ultrasound Imaging 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426. That's 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426.
I'm Audley Scott, and you're listening to Flashpoint Radio. Rise and shine, your morning boost of inspiration, news, and fun. With Mikey G, Lady Elise, and Coralie Karen, the unmistakable combination, synergized to navigate.
Hey, I am Brother West, and the only station I listen to in the morning is Flashpoint Radio. Please stay tuned and be blessed.
J Prophet, I got some prophesying to do, man. So let's get it. Listen, hey, now Deuteronomy 5, my God is alive. He loved those he chastised, yeah. Hey, now Revelation 10, he's coming again. Now back to you and me, friend. Okay, I put my trust in God. I put my trust in God. Yeah, I put my trust in God. I put my trust in God. Yeah, I put my trust in God. I put my trust in God. And I know about you, but I put my trust in the Almighty who's coming. Okay, put my trust in God. I put my trust in God. Yeah, I put my trust in God. I put my trust in God. Yeah.
As we take you out this morning, and this is how we take you out of the breakfast hour. I put my trust in God. J Prophet on the turntable this morning. Guys, please continue to enjoy Flashpoint all day today. www.flashpointmedia.ky as we take you out of this episode of the breakfast hour Wellness Wednesday. Continue to enjoy your day. Keep your health, because your health is your wealth.
Turn my back to the Trinity. are West Bay, where we are Georgetown, where we are Boytown, where we are East Bay, where we are North Side, where we are South Side, where we are Gambay, where we are London, where we are. Put my trust in God, I put my trust in God, yeah, put my trust in God, I put my trust in God, yeah, put my trust in God, I put my trust in God, and I know about you, but I put my trust in the Almighty who's done it. Okay, put my trust in God, I put my trust in God, yeah, put my trust in God, I put my trust in God, yeah.